Hello everyone, welcome to the Daily Current Affairs analysis for the date of 14th of May 2023. So before moving to the topics to be discussed, there are just few announcements to be made. The All India Mock Test UPSC Prelims Test Series conducted by Shankar IAS Academy will be happening for the last mock test series, which is on 18th of May 2025. So don't forget to register and boost up your prelims practice. Now moving to the topics for discussion here. So here the two articles on Operation Sindoor and the Pakistan Air Force bases and the new doctrine for anti-terror policy are discussed in this article in this discussion. The next three articles of the climate finance, it discusses about the climate finance taxonomy, which was released by the PIB recently. Next, it discusses about the Puri Jagannath temple on the occasion of the Rath Yatra, and the next article discusses about the civil registration system, which talks about the unaccounted death rates during the COVID-19. So this article is from the PIB, the Puri Jagannath, and the rest of these articles are from both Hindu and as well as Indian Express. So without any much further delay, let's get into the articles discussion. After the Operation Sindoor, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi have given his first national address. So here, Prime Minister have unveiled new doctrines, frames it as a part of global war on terror. So here, what are the core principles of the doctrine? So here, he has designated on India's term, where let it be for any national security or national threat, our India's term would be more proactive, more independent response, and there is no nuclear blackmail. So here, one of his three principles of the doctrine, he majorly brings in this point where he rejects the deterrence of nuclear threats. So here, of a country's leader or a head, they are putting the fact that they are unintimidated by the nuclear threats blackmail. So this is what the sentence means. So he rejects the deterrence of nuclear threats, and he also brings in the no distinction between terrorists and also people who sponsors the terrorists as well as the state actors who are part of the terrorist group. So here there is no distinction between these three bodies. Now looking into the challenge to the nuclear posturing, so here as soon as the Operation Sindoor were conducted, Pakistan's nuclear command committee, they asked for a meeting. So here he mentioned that on the cancellation of the nuclear command meet, it is viewed as a bluff. So we are bringing in deterrence on the by the nuclear threats and the nuclear blackmails. And here, through his address, he brings in the message that India won't be deterred by nuclear threats, as there is evidence of state-sponsored terrorism. For example, their army and the terrorist funerals brings in signals state complexity, and also the government on bringing in terror sponsor. So here it has future targets may include state institutions also. So why this address is significance, as it brings in assertive security policy, continuation of 2016 and 2019 responses. As we have a country, we have seen different intense responses such as the Kargil war, such as the Uri surgical strike. So here there is a strategic shift from being reactive to offensive, and a global messaging on exposing Pakistan's terror links, and inclusion of all the three forces, air, navy and army, and also applauding the border security forces, that is the BSF, and also India's paramilitary forces. So here, as a prelims article, you need to have more focus on understanding of this topic, and also on the national security, and also India's no first use policy when it comes to nuclear threat. So I hope the article is clear. Now let us see a prelims practice question. Which of the following is not a principle outlined in India's new anti-terror doctrine 2025? So here the answer is C. No distinction between terrorist and sponsor. It's not a doctrine. And these three are the main three doctrines. Response on India's term, zero tolerance for nuclear threats, and also lowering the threshold for military retaliation. On Operation Sindoor, all about Pakistan's Air Force asset that India hit. So here are Indian missiles and drones inflicted heavy damage on at least 8 Pakistan Air Force, that is the PAF bases, with several radar and air defense units during the serial attack last week. So here the attacks were unable to breach Indian air defenses, and this is the map. Now looking into our introduction, the Pakistan's Air Force, it is an integrated network of air bases that serve not only as launch pads for conventional and nuclear delivery system but also as a hub for command, control and surveillance. So here in the backdrop of India's recent retaliatory action, that is the Operation Sindhu, it targeted key Pakistani military assets, a strategic asset of Pakistan's air infrastructure, which is essential. So these facilities, they play a vital role in war fighting readiness of a country, having strategic deterrence and targeting highlights as shift in India's response doctrine from strategic restrict to calibrated assertiveness. So in consecutive slides, we'll be seeing the bases of PAF's base, which is the so here base Noor Khan, which is the headquarters of Air Mobility Command, and it hosts the VIP and nuclear logistic aircrafts. So we can take for example Karakoram B, and near Pakistan's Army Headquarters and Strategic Plans Division. Next base is the Sargoda. Here it is the critical fighter base. For example, it has uh, aircrafts like the Mirage 5, and it is the headquarters of Central Air Command and Combat Commander School. It advances in avionics labs and foreign contractors. So here all of these information are very important when it comes to cabinet committee, which is related to security also. Next is the base Murid. So looking, they have a UAV base and it supports surveillance as well as target acquisition and asymmetric warfare. So it is important for us to have basics understanding on the different missiles and bases used in both India and Pakistan. Next is the base Rahim. So here it is a forward base under Central Command. So it is one of the chief command committee for Pakistan. Say they bring in the dual usage with the airport and the using of the runaway damage by Indian strike. Next is the Sukur base. It is again a forward base with looking into command center with the dual use of the airport. So originally it was a World War II military aerodrome. So historically also it's very important. Looking into the next base, that is the Shawkot. It also hosts Mirage and GF-17, part of the Northern Air Command, and named after 1965 war hero. And next is the base Bolari, inaugurated in 2017 with modern operational base. So here it hosted Pakistan-China exercise Shahin in 2020. So you should all know how different global countries and relation with Pakistan also. Now looking into radar and air defense units targeted, India struck radar sites in Pasrur, Silakot and Lahore, Chunion, and the air defense units hit Lahore, Malirkant and Karachi and targeted the electronic warfare. So how strategically it is important for the implication for India, a shift towards counterforce doctrine and escalation control. So since the operations in the, we have been seeing constant retaliation, so it enhances air superiority and need for tri-services synergy for a country India, especially amid the two-front threat, that is the China. So here looking into conclusion, the PAF bases are crucial to Pakistan's military and nuclear strategy. So India must continue investing in precision strike and aerospace command capabilities. So this is the mains question. In light of the rising regional tensions, critically examine the strategic importance of Pakistan's airbase infrastructure and how it influences India's counterforce doctrine and aerial strike capabilities. So here you can take the PAF as an example. The PAF bases that I have discussed. Here you can take the doctrine, three doctrines being spoken, and you can bring in the importance of the Pakistan airbase infrastructure on in reference to the national security, and also you can combine these points to facilitate how terrorism and the state actors as well as the sponsors are in control and they are interconnected, and you also can bring regional tensions examples from other countries also. So for example, the role of social media also, and different examples being revered. For example, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, and also right now India, Pakistan. And for strategic importance also, you need to know the mapping of Pakistan as well as the important base points for Pakistan for even to have more enriched answer on this question. Now moving on to the next article. This article is from the PIB. So here under the Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance invites suggestions from experts on public on draft framework on India's climate finance taxonomy by June of 2025. So here the India's climate finance taxonomy will facilitate greater source flow to climate friendly technologies and activities, enabling India to achieve the vision of being net zero by 2070 while ensuring long-term access to reliable and affordable energy. So here in pursuance of the Union Budget 2024 to 25 announcement, they are bringing in to develop India's climate finance taxonomy. So what is climate finance taxonomy? It is an official classification system. We all know taxonomy means that defines what counts as climate aligned investment. So basically having finance classification system. So it ensures credibility, it prevents greenwashing, and it guides capital towards green growth. So there is a proper streamlining of the finances according to the different categories present. So there is performance as well as credibility and accountability. So looking into key features, it is issued by Department of Economic Affairs, Ministry of Finance. The purpose is to facilitate credible, transparent green financing. It covers both green as well as transitional activities. So here the principle is do not bring significant harms. That is, do no significant harm. So when there is classification, we know where we are streamlining particular finances. Adapting to the Indian context, it brings in the recognition of national priorities and constraints aligning with national policies and acts. So here there is compatibility with the international models, but they are not rigidly aligned. So for example, EU's taxonomy, which is very rigid. Now phase 1 has been conducted and the sectors covered would be in power. It includes renewables, nuclear, green hydrogen and efficient coal. Next, looking into the mobility sector, they bring in EVs, battery swapping, the FAME, and also PM's e-bus Seva. Now, looking into buildings, so these are the different schemes. Samhita, Griha are all different schemes related to the infrastructural buildings. Looking into agriculture and water, you can take a screenshot and look into the importance of these schemes. Next is agriculture and water, where there is water efficient irrigation and resilient farming. And next to hard to abate industries such as the steel, cement, they all focus on emissions intensity reduction. So here all of these sectors here covered have aligned goal with the Vikshit Bharat, that is the developed India. So here for example, you can take buildings, they look into for residentials, the ECBC, the Eco Niva Samhita, they look in for residentials, sorry, the ECBC look for the commercial buildings. Griha and IBC such as green certificates, and hard to abate industries, we all know that industries where it is very difficult to lesser their emissions. So here taking into account of all of these sectors where there is efficient there is scope for efficiency to bring in green financing as well as covering having green sustainability as well as bringing in green growth. So the phase 1 includes these most of the sectors for the ultimate aim of including Vikshit Bharat. And also looking into supporting mechanisms, for example, schemes such as PM Kusum for solar, then PLI, the product linked incentive for the green hydrogen schemes, then the Perform Achieve Trade scheme, the Ujala scheme, they all include tools such as carbon taxes, green bonds, energy efficiency initiatives. So what is the significance? Majorly to boost the investor confidence, to have green financing, encourages sustainable growth, enables transparent monitoring of climate finance, which is a real thing, and to support transitions to a low carbon economy. So I hope the article is clear. Now moving to a prelims practice question. With reference to India's climate financing taxonomy, consider the statement. It was launched by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. No, the taxonomy includes activities at a transition pathway, even if not fully sustainable. The power sector and agriculture sectors included in the initial phase of coverage. It mandates full alignment with the European Union. So we all know it is only option 2 and 3 are right. It doesn't align and it doesn't come under this ministry. So it is option A, 2 and 3. Here title Odisha police deploy trained commandos at Puri Jagannath temple ahead of Rath Yatra. So in light of this article, let us see few basics about the Puri Jagannath temple. So here it is located in Puri, Odisha, and the deities are for Jagannath in the Lord form of Krishna, then Balabhadra and Subhadra. So here it is built by the Eastern Ganga dynasty of Antavarman Choda Ganga Deva. And looking into their pilgrimage, they are part of one of the Chardam. Now, looking into why they are important in perspective of their religious and cultural significance, they celebrate the Rath Yatra, which is an annual chariot festival, and the deity idols are which are made of wood, and it is one of the most famous festivities to be celebrated. So here there would be replacement of idols every 8, 12 or 19 years, and they are known as Naba Kalibra, and the priests include Bilsava tribal priests. And looking into saints and philosophical lens, these are the saints who are part of the cultural significance, such as Ramanujacharya and Adi Shankaracharya, then Madhavacharya, Vallabhacharya and Nibarkacharya. So here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's deep association, who was also living in Puri Jagannath. So here we have more importance on Ramanujacharya and Adi Shankaracharya. So look into their basics. Now looking into temple architecture, they form the Kalinga style and Kalinga architecture, where they have defensive walls such as Meghanada Pacheri and Karma Veda. So here looking into the entry, non-Hindus are not allowed in this temple. And this is the structural layout of the temple. So here the circular sanctum is known as Vimana or Garbhagraha. Then this is the frontal porch, that is the Mukeshala, this part. And this is the Bhaga Mandape, which is the offerings hall. And this is the frontal portal, that is Mukashala. And the Nada Mandir, which is the audience hall, and Bhoga Mandapa is the offerings hall. So these are the types in Kalinga's architecture, that is the Rekadola, which is the sanctum towers that we have seen here. Then Pida Daula, which is the pyramid roof mandaps, and Kakra Daula, which is the barrel roof shrines for female deities. Now looking into the temple treasury, which are known as Ratna Bandar, which is in the location of north of Jagamohan, and they have two chambers. One is the inner chamber and that is the outer chamber, and they used for storing ornaments and jewelry. So these are the parts of the temple for us to have a basic understanding. Now the Ratna Bandar governance, it comes under the legal acts of 1952, 1954 temple acts. So they are managed by the Jagannath temple managing committee. So here the categories are used, and in the outer space, that is for festivals and daily use. So if we have to look into more basics, we need to know about the Kalinga architecture, then have a understanding about the structures and about saints such as Ramanujacharya and Adi Shankaracharya. And here they are also part of the 12th century Vaishnavism. So have your basics understanding on these concepts also. Now let's look into a prelims practice question. With reference to Jagannath temple at Puri, consider these statements. It is one of the Chardam pilgrimage sites for Hindu. Yes. The deities worshipped in the temple are made of metal. Non-Hindus are allowed to enter the temple. So here only one is correct. Only the first statement is correct. No, it is made of wood. And here non-Hindus are not allowed. Now moving to the next article, what new government data reveals on the extent of undercounting of COVID-19 deaths in India. So here a new data has been presented where there is credible evidence that more realistic assessment of the deaths caused by the COVID-19 pandemic in India. And the result is more than a robust estimation. So this estimation helps us to understand not just for numerical purposes but also for more of our knowing of the assessment process for a healthcare sector. So what is the CRS, civil registration system? So CRS, it is continuous, permanent and compulsory recording of vital events such as births, deaths and stillbirths, especially related to a pandemic. So it is governed by the Registration of Births and Deaths Act 1969. It is implemented by Registrar General of India RGI under the Ministry of Home Affairs in coordination with state government. Looking into the key features of the CRS, so they mainly for recording for the legal purposes on issuance of birth, death and stillbirth, birth death certificates and also about the stillbirth. So they present data which is compiled annually and published in the CRS report. So it helps in updating population estimations and also geographic indicators of such mega events. Now looking into the applications of the CRS, first is for public health monitoring. So it tracks the mortality rate, the causes of death. So it helps us to identify diseases, patterns and other public health threats and issues. So we can take pandemic as an example, and also we can take cholera, tuberculosis, polio. Next is policy formation and planning. So it provides crucial data for population based planning and according to the geographical areas, resource allocation and welfare scheme targeting. So we all know for during the period of COVID, we all know how it was very difficult for many of the patients to get right resources such as hospitalization itself, which is the starting. Next is disaster and pandemic management. So it helps estimate excess deaths during health crisis like COVID-19, where for example you have seen the country US where they had almost much of a deaths, and enabling better response and compensation for the affected. Next is for legal and administrative uses. So here birth and death certificates are essential for identity documents, inheritance, pensions and insurance claims. So not just it's for mere numerical estimations. Next, population control and fertility monitoring. So here it tracks birth rates and can guide family planning policies. So the CRS right now can help for us to understand why there is low fertility rate. We can see the patterns and also compare it with different global economies. So for example, you can take Korea, you can take China. We all have been seeing the cases of the lower fertility rate. And next is the SDG tracking, that is the sustainable development tracking. So here it supports the SDG goal 3, that is to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all. So this is one of the most important criteria for our country, especially for population base. Now the news is there has been miscalculation on the deaths of the COVID-19. So looking into the reasons, first is weak death registration system. So here there is incomplete or delayed reporting in rural areas and especially among the marginalized communities. Next is lack of cause of death certification. So here many deaths went uncertified or were misattributed due to the lack of cause of death certification and not having proper registration. Next is political and administrative hesitancy. Here pressure has been given to reduce or show that there has been reduction of deaths, that is downplay numbers, to avoid panic or criticism of that particular political party present or governance present. Next is inadequate testing and diagnosis. For example, many COVID deaths were not confirmed due to lack of testing, especially in early stages. So we all know there were different, especially two types of COVID symptoms where it was direct and some were indirect. So it was recognized as just fever. So there were inadequate testing as well as diagnosis. And next is infrastructure collapse during the Delta wave. For example, there has been overwhelmed hospitals and crematures led to chaotic reporting. This we did see during the time of COVID especially. Now what would be the issues due to this undercounting, which is one of the most major change. So here there is public health mismanagement. Bringing in inaccurate mortality data can affect pandemic response planning on a larger picture. Next is the loss of public trust ultimately. So it undermines the confidence of people in relying on official data and government's credibility, affecting the good governance. Next is compensation denied. So it affects the rightful people to have their compensation to COVID victim families. Next is having a global image and data integrity being affected. So it impacts India's standing in international health assessment. Since we are a country, we are known for helping other countries, especially during such pandemics, during the other healthcare crisis where we bring in aid. So for India as a global image, having a look on this report can question the data integrity. Next is QA research and policy formation. So here, bringing in research methods to be more authentic, to be more reliable, we need to bring in policy formation. So data gaps can hinder scientific as well as policy insights. Now, what is the way ahead for this problem? First is to strengthen the CRS coverage. For example, to ensure 100% registration of births and deaths and with cause certificate. So here you can see how important the cause certificate is. So if you know the cause certificate, it can help us to have classifications and bring in ultimate planning. Next is using the digital health records. So here, since this generation where there is more involvement of technology and AI, it would be sufficient for us to help take use of the technology. So here, technology is one of the most biggest blessing, if I would say, when it comes to the healthcare sectors. So here, implementing real-time death tracking systems integrated with health data and along with geographical locations. Next is decentralized data auditing. So empowering the local bodies, giving in their power to verify and report accuracy mortality rate to bigger authorities. Next, having independent oversight. So here, encouraging the third party audits and academic access to official data. So having an academic access can enhance the research methods and also can have employment opportunities also. So here it brings legal accountability, that is to penalize intentional data suppression or manipulation. So there is recording of these data properly. So I hope the article is clear. Now this is the mains practice question, and don't forget to give your answer in the comment section. The COVID-19 pandemic exposed serious flaws in India's death registration and public health data systems. Discuss the implications of undercounting pandemic related deaths and suggest institutional reforms to address this issue. So thank you so much for watching the video. Don't forget to give a like, comment and share, and to further not to miss any other content, subscribe to our channel. Thank you and have a nice day.